You say you can't trust biblical texts because they are ancient manuscripts that were written by men thousands of years ago.
Well, that's putting it mildly and leaving out the larger objections most atheists make. We also say you can't trust biblical texts because it's full of internal contradictions and inconsistencies, like the creation accounts in Genesis, the death of Judas, and Jesus' last words, to name a few. It also has historically questionable claims, like the entirety of the Exodus story, the conquest of Canaan, and the Babylonian exile, to name a few. It also makes a bunch of supernatural claims without enough evidence to believe them. Finally, most biblical texts weren't written by the individuals traditionally attributed as the authors. Scholars now know that many of the epistles and books of the Bible were products of later generations. None of the Gospels were written by eyewitnesses. They were composed decades after the events they describe. Many of the letters attributed to Paul, such as 1st and 2nd Timothy and Titus, are considered forgeries by scholars. These letters reflect concerns of a later era, inconsistent with Paul's theology and writing style.
Yet the Bible is the most preserved text in all of humanity, with over 25,000 manuscripts in the world.
Since there are a lot of copies of old manuscripts, this makes it somehow true or reliable. Even if we granted it was the same exact book 2,000 years ago, this does nothing for the legitimacy of the claims in it. It's still full of the same internal contradictions, inconsistencies, historically questionable claims, and dubious authorship.
I then ask you, why do you trust the reliability of people like Caesar, Galileo, and many other ancient figures when they have far more less items written about them?
Ah, yes, another fundamentally flawed argument repeated by apologists in creationism circles. We don't doubt the history surrounding Caesar because he wrote books. There are books written by people who met him. His political opponent Cicero has letters and speeches that include him. There are coins that still exist that were made during his lifetime. As mentioned earlier, all we have for Jesus is Paul's letters, who didn't know Jesus before the crucifixion and wrote 20 years afterwards, and the Gospels, anonymously written at the earliest 40 years afterwards. So yes, there are more manuscripts, but manuscripts' reliability says nothing about historical reliability. There is enough evidence to conclude that both Jesus and Caesar were historical people, but the vastly more material we have for Caesar makes the details of his life much more certain than Jesus.